Please explain the kinematics at the knee joint during squats.
Okay. Okay. So in previous lecture, in ankle joint, we have studied that talocrural joint and the subtalar joint take cares of the squatting, right? But in the ankle joint, we have tibiofemoral. Joint facilitates the squatting, right? So let's understand what is tibiofemoral joint. So this is your femur here. Right? And then we have tibia here. And then we have the fibula. Okay. So this is tibia and femur. This bone comprises the tibiofemoral joint, right? And the ligaments who are going to take care of the stability are, we have to zoom on this first. So this is your medial condyle and this is lateral condyle of the tibia, sorry, femur. And this is the head of the tibia and here is your fibula. We have ACL ligament here, right? And the PCL. They are called cruciate ligament. So they are called cruciate ligaments, right? Because they signify the cross here. This is were crucified. And then we have lateral collateral ligament, LCL, and we have medial collateral ligament, right? So medial collateral ligament and LCL, lateral collateral ligament, what they do? MCL prevents knock knees, right? While squatting, if your knees are going inward, that is prevented, that valgus prevented by MCL, and the varus, knee going outward. This is called varus, is prevented by LCL, lateral collateral ligament, right? And what is the role of your ACL and PCL? So let's make squatting joint of action here. This is your femur, and then we have tibia and the fibula, right? Now ACL prevents anterior tibial translation. Means while squatting, we have always told client not to allow your knee to cross the toes. that is taken care by ACL. ACL is not allowing tibia to go forward in squatting. If there is a translation which is more than 4 centimeter from your toes, then that's going to rupture your ACL, right? And then we have PCL, posterior cruciate ligament. This PCL prevents posterior translation of tibia. So PCL is not allowing tibia to go backward, right? Now the musculature supporting here, we know that we have patella here, right? And this quadricep tendon is attached here, and this is quadricep muscle. This is quadricep tendon, and then we have patellar tendon here, right? Now, whenever your quadricep is extending leg at the knee joint, right, concentrically, there is a kind of pull on to the tibia, which is translating tibia anteriorly, and that is taken care by ACL. ACL is not allowing tibia to go anteriorly, right? At the same time, see what is quadricep. Quadricep contracting concentrically at knee extension, right? Quadricep contracting while extending the knee, right? At that time there is a pull on to the tibia, and if the pull is quadricep muscle is contracting strongly, there will be strongest pull on to the tibia anteriorly. That is prevented by the ACL, but ACL alone cannot do it. So there is a counter regulatory pull onto this tibia. There is counter regulatory pull on tibia by hamstring. Muscle, right? So who is helping ACL? The hamstring muscle. Hamstring muscle will pull tibia posteriorly, so the tension on the ACL will be reduced, right? Now when your tibia is trying to go posteriorly, PCL will try to resist that posterior tibial translation. And in previous lecture, I have already explained that gastrocnemius medial head, gastrocnemius medial head is responsible to prevent tibial posterior translation. So who is helping PCL here? Gastrocnemius medial head. It is also preventing tibia translating posteriorly. So PCL load also taken care by gastrocnemius, right? Let's understand what are the compressive forces and the shear forces at this knee joint during squats. Compressive forces and shear forces, right? Now these compressive forces, whenever there is they are coming from quadricep and patellar tendon onto the patella, right? That results too much compressive force collection at the accumulation at the patella, and this patella has to share these forces onto the articular surface, onto the articular surface of the femoral condyle, right? And these forces are compressive forces are absorbed by articular surface of the femur. If they are not absorbed, they will convert into the rotational forces, shear forces. So compressive forces need to be absorbed. If not absorbed, need to be absorbed by soft tissue cartilage, right? And if not absorbed by this soft tissue cartilage here, these forces will convert into the shear forces, converts into the shear forces, right? Now what are the forces at the knee joint degree wise? axial load increases from 15 degree to 35 degree, right? And then it decreases, load decreases onwards 90 degree, right? So ACL is safe if you are squatting past 90 degree, right? And what are the load on the PCL? PCL load increases at 35 degree to 110 degree, right? And these loads are decreased from 110 degree onwards. Even PCL also safe when you are squatting beyond 110 degree, right? So what is the correct phase of the squatting? Past 90 degree. Even many Olympic lifters need to go in full squat, deep squats, right? Let's understand tibiofemoral rotation and translation. Rotation and translation remains constant, from 50 degree to 90 degree, right? In squatting phase of 50 to 90 degree, there is no translation of the tibia or rotation of the tibia. It remains constant, and this translation is decreased 110 degree onwards, right? So what we understand from here, that there is less load on ACL past 90 degree of squatting, there is less load on PCL past 110 degree of squatting, and there is less or no tibial translation and rotation onwards 110 degree, right? So both ACL and PCL are safe during full squat. Let's understand with one example. There is a study, a person, power lifter, who lifted a weight which is 2.5 times of his body weight, and what were the forces generated? Let's understand. Suppose a person is squatting here, right? He is lifted 2.5 times of his body weight, right? That is a study already declared that a person, power lifter, who lifted 2.5 times of his body weight in full squat, in deep squat, the recorded forces were 8,000 Newton meters right? Forces are recorded in Newton meters, right? So while in deep squat, the forces at the knee joint were 8,000 Newton meters, and when he went into the ascent phase of 60 degree, this was in full, this was in, you can say 120 degree onwards, right? In 60 degree, forces reported decreased to the 5,000 Newton meters, and at 30 degree the forces declined to 2,000 Newton meters, right? Now if you want to understand the tensile strength of the patellar tendon, this patellar tendon tensile strength is 10,000 Newton meters to 15,000 Newton meters, right? So even the person who squatted with 2.5 times of his body weight were recorded the highest peak of 8,000 Newton meters, but the patellar tendon were able to take load of 10,000 Newton meters to 15,000 Newton meters, right? And this tensile strength of the quadriceps, if you consider, this is the thickest tendon, right, compared to patellar tendon. Obviously it will have more tensile strength than the patellar tendon, right? I hope I have simplified today's lecture. Thank you very much.